Hello, everyone. I'm Scott Twist, and I'd like to talk to you tonight about the psychology of facial expressions. What are facial expressions? Some believe that facial expressions are a form of nonverbal communication. Information passes from and through this window of emotion, and some believe that it's a powerful communicator. Facial expressions consist of groups or sets of muscles that contract and release depending on what emotion is being conveyed. Facial expressions reveal emotions, and some expressions are believed to be involuntary, while others are easily manipulated. Examining early theories of origin and function, Duchin, one of the study's earliest theorists, was a pioneer in many fields. Having the luxury of electricity at the time, he was able to test and map muscle movements with a homemade electrical device. While stimulating the face with electricity to produce the facial movements, he would capture the expressions made on plates, as seen in the photo. Duchin believed that facial expressions were a gift from God to mankind and exclusive to man alone. His belief that facial muscles operated in groups and that these groups were exclusive only to emotions. Duchin also believed that some expressions were difficult to make voluntarily. An example is the Duchin smile. The smile is known for the corners of the mouth being turned to up, which is a voluntary movement. Duchin believed the raising of the cheek muscles, which produce crow's feet on the corners of the eyes, is a reflection of an involuntary movement. The Duchin smile is the combination both of the turned up corners of the mouth and the cheek muscles being raised with crow's feet, producing an emotion of a facial expression of joy, which is difficult to counterfeit. After reviewing Duchin's research, Darwin had different ideas as to the origin of facial expressions and their meaning. Darwin believed that facial expressions were universal. Disagreeing with Duchin, Darwin's belief was that facial expressions were evolved. Testing his theory of universality, Darwin would send surveys with sailors leaving port to be filled out and mailed in once they encountered natives in other countries. Darwin's publication of the expressions of the emotions in man and animals describes his theory of three principles, which explain the evolution and functionality of facial expressions. The first principle is the serviceable habits. Darwin believed that facial expressions have evolved through time. Useful functions were kept, and animalistic traits were lost as people became civilized. The second principle is the antithesis. This principle states that some facial expressions are passive and neutral. The third and final principle is the direct action of the nervous system of the body. This principle states that some facial expressions are produced from the nervous system's need to expel energy, like laughter. Dr. Paul Ekman proved Darwin's theory of universal facial expressions of emotion. He documented 6 basic facial expressions by using photographs. Dr. Ekman took photos of people displaying the 6 basic emotions. The photos were shown to college students all over the world. The observers in every culture chose the same emotions for each face. For the second part of his experiment, he took the photos to a pre-literature village in New Guinea. The test subjects also were able to identify the 6 basic emotions. They were then asked to display their interpretation of the 6 basic emotions. Their facial expressions were documented and brought back to the college students in the US. The college students identified the 6 emotions based off the photos. Dr. Ekman also co-developed a technical guide to reading facial expressions. This guide categorizes facial behaviors based on the muscles that produce them, free from interpretation. The facial action coding system has been used by psychologists to help teach schizophrenia patients and children suffering with autism to learn and process facial expressions. Doctors are using facial expression data to better understand pain thresholds in patients, and law enforcement is utilizing facial expression data in profiling suspects as well as in the interviewing process. It is believed that the facial expressions may hold the key to an individual's truthfulness. New studies have shown that micro expressions exist. Micro expressions are expressions that flash on the face for a 15th to a 25th of a second. And researchers believe that these expressions may hold deeper keys into the human's emotional well-being. In closing, we have covered a small area of a vast and interesting field. Thank you for taking the time to hear what I have to say. The human face in repose and in movement, and at the moment of death as in life, in silence and in speech, when seen or sensed from within, in actuality, or as represented in art or recorded by the camera, is a commanding, complicated, and at times confusing source of information. Thank you.